Pause for the next 10 seconds and try something very small. Take a deep breath, then look straight at the vague feeling you usually avoid. If your life suddenly fits like a shirt that's too tight, don't panic. You're not broken. You're standing at a threshold. You still wake on time, drive the same roads, smile in all the right places. Yet something has quietly pushed open a door inside. The old rhythm isn't calling you anymore. The thrill that once sped your heart now echoes faintly. Jung would call this a sacred threshold. The ego hairline cracks, so a deeper center in you can breathe. Transformation rarely arrives with noise. It comes as restlessness, a silence that's both empty and holy, a wordless tug felt as weight in the chest, an intuition you used to dismiss as not logical. If you catch yourself staring in the mirror and your own eyes feel a touch unfamiliar, you're not lost. You may be turning toward the truest road, the road back to yourself. You start asking odd questions at odd times. Why does everything look the same while my heart feels heavy? Why does this wind sound like old applause? Why did a 2-hour conversation hold only a few seconds of truth? The unconscious speaks in symbols, dreams, paradoxes, coincidences, not polite emails. It sends nameless feelings. When you are quiet enough to listen, confusion stops being the enemy. It becomes a signal. It isn't destroying your life. It's unfastening what no longer belongs to you. Because this journey asks for a brave heart. Here's a 30-45-second map, just enough to hold on to persona, is the social face we wear to be loved, to fit in, to slip through a workday without stares. Useful, but not the whole of you. Shadow holds what got pushed to the basement. Desire, anger, softness, unrealized talent. What family culture or you yourself once judged. Not bad, just hungry to be seen. Individuation is the lifelong process of unfusing from your roles, retrieving what was abandoned, and letting a deeper center of the self coordinate the whole. A quick picture, Lena, 36, a designer in Austin, praised as so easy to work with. To keep being liked, she hides anger when boundaries are crossed and muffles creative ambition. The anger becomes shadow, then swells into nameless fatigue. The day she says a clear no, she doesn't become worse, she becomes real. That's individuation in one step, returning what is yours back to its rightful owner. If your chest tightens reading this, take it as a good sign. What you're missing isn't the next plan, it's deeper honesty. Achievements, titles, and inbox dones feel like shells. You want something harder to name: integration, a life where you don't have to perform. Sleep that doesn't need self-soothing. Laughter from the diaphragm, not etiquette. Work that doesn't demand you leave yourself at the door. You don't need to burn it all down to begin. You only need to stop pretending the old way still feeds you when it doesn't. That longing isn't frivolous. It's ancient soul wisdom saying your life energy libido has withdrawn from the old to water what's next. This isn't a call to yank the wheel 180 degrees overnight. It's an invitation to change the question. Shift from what should I do next to what is trying to reach me. When you change the question, you change your life. The unconscious won't mail a script. It sends symbols, a 4 a.m. dream that won't let go, a meaningful coincidence that raises the small hairs, a soft unease that makes you put the phone down and place a hand on your heart. Let these signals sit beside you. You don't have to explain them, only stay present long enough to notice you no longer want to answer life with reflex. Are you afraid that if you loosen your grip, everything will collapse? Some structures will crack, but not to drop you, to let the light in. You'll feel a new stillness, strange at first like a room without furniture, then warm like a blanket just in from the line. Tiny shifts follow, pausing half a beat before you say yes, trading loud playlists for 10 minutes of quiet writing down a dream instead of covering it with a third coffee. From micro shifts comes a steadiness. You stop chasing, correct, and start walking with true. Many turn back at the very threshold when silence begins to reveal them to themselves. If you've read this far, your long-standing inner call, just move closer. Next, I won't fling slogans. I'll hand you a compass, 5 subtle signs you are on the path, even when the surface looks messy. They're not quick spiritual hacks. They're how the unconscious knocks in 5 different rhythms. The first sounds like unnameable fatigue, not burnout, but energy withdrawing from what's expired. The second is a quiet crack in identity roles no longer contain the part of you that's growing. The next three, meaningful misalignment, intuition, waking and stillness, turning into shelter, will map a daily path you can walk without raising your life. Before we step on, keep a tiny ritual of my end, a hand on your chest, name one feeling you have been dodging, and whisper, I hear you. That's not magic. It's training your nervous system to know truth can stay without making you collapse. When you let truth stay, something ordinary, miraculous happens. You cross the threshold, not by leaping, but by consent. Consent to stop running from yourself. When we touched the threshold together, do you remember that exact second, strangely unsettled and strangely clear? It's like standing on your front steps on a warm, windy Texas evening, knowing you can't go back into the old room, but not yet sure whether you'll step into the garden or out to the street. This first chapter is that very first step after the threshold, the first sign your life energy quietly withdrawing from what used to feel familiar. No drama, no headlines. Just a new weight in your chest as you pour coffee, a slip in rhythm during a Zoom meeting, a small but steady hollow. In Jung's language, this is the negredo, the dark soil of the soul's alchemy, when things dim so a seed can crack open. You're not failing, you're repotting your life. What small thing has lost its taste for you lately? Look closely at the everyday picture of a busy American life. You check off emails, shuttle kids to school, jog the loop, answer hallway. Hellos with, I'm good. Then one afternoon, even your favorite song of 10 years goes fuzzy. Dinner is still delicious, but somehow flavorless. Your replies hit the template, but don't touch your heart. This shift needs no grand reason. It's the unconscious reporting, and libido is draining out of structures that no longer nourish you. Deep down, a part of you has grown. Yesterday's mold can't hold it. If nothing big is wrong, could the small signals still be telling the truth? Before we go further, here's a 30-second map. Persona is the social face, the mask that lets us move smoothly in the world. Easy coworker, pleasant neighbor, good kid, proud parent. Useful like a coat on a windy day. Suffocating if you sleep in it. Shadow holds what you stashed in the basement of the psyche to avoid judgment, anger, desire, fear, intuition, even talents you haven't dared to use. Not bad, just unwelcomed energy. Individuation is the lifelong work of putting the persona back in its role as a tool, inviting the shadow to sit at the table, and letting a deeper center, the self, keep the beat. Mark this with a story. Chris, 34, Denver. Marketing always nice. He avoids conflict, takes on extra work, lives on no worries. One day he starts resenting what he used to like: his favorite podcast, his gym routine, even his beloved cold brew. He thinks he's lazy. In truth, his libido is pulling out of the strategy beloved for being harmless and preparing to water a more honest life where directness is no longer treated as a sin. Where have you been harmless at the cost of being honest? Many people rush to label this as burnout or depression and scramble to fix it. Please be gentle. Burnout and depression are real and deserve professional care. If you're having self-harm thoughts, long-standing, sleep disruption, or can't maintain basic functioning, seek mental health support near you. But there's another possibility. Our focus today, what you feel might be an invitation, not an order to demolish your life. An invitation to pull the breathing tube out of what has no air left. If this is an invitation, what might it be inviting you to stop? When energy withdraws, the mind tries to explain. It calls you unmotivated, lazy, disloyal to your job, ungrateful for your life. Try a different listening stance. Don't ask, why am I broken? Ask what has expired. A mom in Ohio wrote to say she once dozed off at her own birthday party, not from fatigue, but because she couldn't find herself in the way everyone laughed. A software engineer in San Jose stared at the screen and his hands wouldn't type even with a deadline pressing. That night he dreamed of a dreary riverbed, on the bottom rounded stones like eggs. What does that image suggest? Sometimes the water must recede so the riverbed can show what's been hidden. What dream or image has been tugging at your sleeve lately? What do I do with the emptiness? First, stop quietly insulting yourself. Losing interest is data, not a diagnosis. Second, don't rush to swap in a new stimulant. Addiction transfer, new job, new lover, new city often mean the persona changed outfits while the soul stayed hungry. Start with one move that is tiny but radical. Let the truth sit long enough to say its own name. Each morning before you touch your phone, lay a hand on your chest and ask, what in me is alive today? What in me is spent? One sentence. You don't need a brilliant answer, only enough honesty to let your breath ease a little. Can you give yourself 20 seconds tomorrow to ask those two questions? Because simple is easy to dismiss. Here's a concrete practice you can do tonight. Draw 3 columns on a blank page. Drains, nourishes, neutral. Under drains, list 5 small things, meetings, habits, interactions that leave you wrung out. Monday, 8:30 a.m., staff sync, replying to text within 3 minutes. Scrolling past 11 p.m. The acquaintance who always needs a quick favor. Under nourishes, list 5 that settle your body. 10 quiet minutes, bare feet on the ground, a loop around the block with the dog cooking something simple. Writing down a dream. Neutral are the necessary tasks with no charge, dishes, laundry. Now choose one item from drains to pause for 7 days and one from nourishes to do every morning. Just one and one. This isn't a life overhaul. It's shifting attention from must perform to want to live. Which one drain will you pause and which one nourishment will you commit to? If a dream visits you this week, don't rush to interpret. Capture it the way we snap a sky photo before the clouds move. Colors, objects, the felt sense. Jung called this learning to live symbolically, treating experience not only as data, but as the unconscious speaking in images. Not superstition, another channel of dialogue with yourself. A viewer in Florida dreamed of a red cactus bloom inside a fluorescent supermarket. The next morning, she turned down an exciting offer that was actually stale and spent the afternoon painting that red flower. No applause, but she breathed. What symbol, however odd, feels like a breadcrumb for you right now? How do I tell healthy withdrawal from avoidance? Check the aftertaste. If pausing leaves your body a little lighter, your breath a half beat deeper, and silence a little less scary, that's a sign you're returning. If pausing only breeds guilt, fear, self-scolding, and you have to numb with substitutes, caffeine, doom scrolling, picking fights, you may be dodging instead of caring. Micro adjustments beat grand declarations. You don't need to break free like a movie. You need to break honest just enough to live. After you pause, do you feel clearer or more scrambled? Let's anchor those 3 concepts one more time in a homey way so the mind can walk with the heart. Persona isn't evil. It's the uniform you wear to get onto life's playing field. When the whistle blows, you have to take it off so your skin can breathe. Shadow isn't a monster. It's the teammate you benched good at defending parts of you you've never let play. Individuation isn't a self-upgrade project. It's like getting the whole band back together. Reason, feeling, desire, fear each invited into time and tune so the music becomes truer, not louder. Picture yourself as a Portland house upstairs. Living room lit bright, the persona. Downstairs, storage, the shadow. Individuation is the whole house deciding to talk to itself without locking anyone out on the lawn. Which room in you needs a light turned on tonight? As you keep to small practices, something wonderfully odd happens. A few once fun relationships loosen their grip. You join fewer long, empty conversations. You stop answering every you up at midnight. You accept a no from your body without immediately betraying it with reasons. These look small, but on a chart they mark a pivot from performing to living. A man in Seattle stopped opening email before 9 a.m. That alone brought dreams back after years of silence. He began jotting those blurry images, and from them a project idea sprouted not for a KPI, but because it fit. What tiny boundary could give a big breath back to your day? I know how tempting it is to understand and be done. The unconscious rarely agrees. It asks you to trust millimeters. So if one day your old dullness softens, don't declare victory. Make a tiny ritual, light a candle by the kitchen sink, write 3 lines thanking your body for warning you even when you've ignored it. Then blow the candle out. Period. These humble rites won't fix the world. They retune your antenna so the true signal comes through with less static. What 60-second ritual could you adopt as a daily thank you to your body? We don't walk alone. If something here touched you, drop a short comment with hand first sign and name one action you'll pause for the next 7 days. If it feels safe, add a recent dream. Just a few details so others can feel less alone in this call to return. We read every line and often choose one story as a letter of the week for the whole circle to learn from. Invite a friend, send them 3 simple questions. What drains you? What feeds you? Where will you dare a no this week? And compare notes together. Who's your one practice partner for the week ahead? Try this image: you're standing before the familiar mirror, and instead of fixing your hair or collar, you ask, if I didn't need to impress anyone today, what would I do differently? Write down the very first answer, even if it's awkward, without judgment. That awkward line might be the first step out of the old puddle. If you sense even a paper-thin shift, keep it warm in your hands like winter heat. Next, we'll place our hand on the second sign, the quiet crack in the ego, when the roles that carried you through so many seasons suddenly feel like armor that's too heavy. Not so you strip naked in public life, but so you can unfasten one clasp at a time, gently, wisely, with love. I'll share two stories: a man after his son's graduation and a woman on the very day she was promoted. Both found themselves in tears without knowing why. There we'll see how the persona doesn't crack to break you, but to let the self's light in like lightning on a dark horizon that foretells a cleansing rain. If the last chapter felt like life itself was pulling energy out of your old habits, this one lands on the quiet hairline crack of identity, the moment when the roles that once carried you through many seasons suddenly feel too tight. It's not an explosion. It's the soft snap of a shirt thread in a still room, small but impossible to ignore. Jung wouldn't call this a failure. He'd say the ego isn't the enemy. It's the housekeeper who's worked overtime. Now the true owner, the self, has come home. When the self's hand touches the doorknob, persona steps back half a pace. The armor loosens. That's the second sign, the silent settling of the old identity, so something more honest can step forward. Meet Mark, 52, in Minnesota. It's his son's graduation photos, jokes, summer light. On the drive back, he asks to be dropped at a lakeside lot. I'll walk. He sits on the wooden steps, looks at the water, and tears come. No drama. No reason. Not regret, not joy, more like a gentle emptiness that's wide enough to be frightening. If my son doesn't need me like before, who am I now? The roles provider, fixer, them. One who always knows what to do suddenly hang on him like wet clothes. That night he dreams of a storage room stacked with labeled boxes, work bills, baseball schedule. In the far corner, a dusty guitar. He wakes remembering he used to play every week, not for applause, just to feel alive. In Jung's language, that's the persona cracking. Persona kept Mark safe and respectable, but persona can't do the soul's job. It preserves, it doesn't nourish. When life changes season, the mask stretches like rubber and blocks the breath. The crack doesn't kill you, it lets oxygen in. Here's where many panic. They paced over the opening with a new hustle, a fresh goal, a different distraction. But taping a window shut means losing the forest view it was offering. A clear line for safety: if you're not sleeping for days, can't do basic tasks, or have self-harm thoughts, seek professional help immediately. What we're exploring here is a beautiful fracture. You still work, still parent, still pay bills, but a different lamp is glowing inside, inviting a truer look. Beautiful fractures pull you toward honesty. Breakage pulls you away from daily living. A gentle way through the crack is to unfasten the armor one clasp at a time. Picture coming home late. Before the TV, sit 2 quiet minutes and ask, what roles did I perform today? The pleaser, the knower, the endurer. Now open just one button instead of no problem type. I need 24 more hours. Instead of nodding, ask, what's the purpose of this? You're not rebelling. You're teaching your body the fit of truth. Small gestures invite the self into the living room, while persona bows out kindly like a good steward, saying, I'm off duty tonight. A second story, Maria, 41, New Jersey, promotion day, glass wall. Office applause, praise. At home, her mom texts, proud of you. Her husband says, you earned it. Maria slides down the kitchen cabinet to the floor, listening to the fridge hum. Not sad, empty, like someone clasped beautiful gold bracelets on her wrists that now hold them shut, golden handcuffs. That night, she dreams of a long corridor, meeting rooms on both sides, and at the end, a tiny wooden door, child-sized. She kneels, opens it, a messy room of papers, paints the smell of wood and sunlight. She wakes laughing. She used to paint the ocean. Her dream isn't quit your job. It's unlock the room you sealed while growing up. So instead of a panicked career flip, she negotiates, pushes back 30% of needless meetings, keeps one evening a week to paint, and crucially allows herself to say, I'm not sure in meetings that demand instant answers. Something shifts, output doesn't drop. The weight on her shoulders does. She doesn't fall off the ladder. She stops climbing a ladder that isn't leaning on her house. See the pattern? When the crack appears, you don't smash the mask in rage, you slide it to its rightful place. Tool, not identity. The soul's alchemy moves into albedo, the pale, clarifying light after the black night, where you learn the difference between the voice that gets you to work on time and the voice that keeps you from betraying yourself. Tiny shifts: you stop answering every after-hours ping. Stop promising what your heart can't back. Stop using a joke to silence a rising tear. When someone says, "You seem different," you don't explain. You know you're coming home. How do I know this is the self speaking and not laziness? Check with the body, not just the mind. When you loosen an inauthentic roll, the breath lengthens, shoulders soften, eyes warm half a degree. When you're avoiding truth, the body hardens, the heart races. You need extra stimulation to cope. The self feels like new space in the chest, quiet, not dull. The ego fears emptiness. The self knows emptiness is where green shoots grow. Don't do this alone. We're relearning how to be human among humans. Step into our circle with one concrete move in the comments post and hashtag #sign2 and name one role you're loosening this week. If you want, add a recent symbol, a wood smell, a dusty guitar, a tiny wooden door that called you back. Your lines become small mirrors where others recognize themselves. If you have a companion, send them this prompt. If I'm no longer praised for being reliable, will I still feel lovable? Share water like hikers in the same forest. Before we close, try a miniature ritual like Mark's without knowing it. Choose an object that represents the old role, a name badge, high heels, place it on the table. Touch it and say, "Thank you." From today, we switch places. Set beside it a self symbol, a leaf, a stone, a pen. No grand vow, just swap their positions. Each morning, look for 10 seconds. The quietest changes tend to last. Next time, we'll enter sign 3 when the outer world falls out of rhythm with you, not because you hate it, but because you no longer fit the old grooves. We'll explore how to discern what has expired versus what needs to be recovenanted. The simple stop, start, sustain moves that reduce change pain, and how to live among crowds without losing the inner current. If this episode loosened a few old strings, stay. The rope doesn't need to be hacked through, it needs patient hands to untie. If part 2 was the soft snap of a seam in a quiet room, then part 3 is when you step onto your usual street and realize the neighborhood is playing a different tempo. Same storefronts, same barista, who knows your order, yet there's a subtle backbeat behind your neck. You're not suddenly cynical. The outer life just stops reflecting the inner one with its old fidelity. Jung would call this a sign of retuning. Something in you has come into tune, and now the orchestra around you is invited to listen and adjust. Feeling out of sync isn't failure, it's an invitation. In the US, we're trained for the rhythm of keep going, keep doing, stay busy. So when misalignment arrives, we mislabel it as boredom. Look closer, you laugh at lunch, but it doesn't land in your chest. You speak at the PTA meeting, yet can't hear yourself. You try to love your old playlist, but your thumb keeps skipping tracks. These no longer fits are often individuation in motion. The unconscious quietly pulls energy from expired forms and nudges you to make small adjustments to environment relationships. Habits just enough so life fits like skin, again, not a too tight shirt. Here's a Jungian key that lets you breathe wider identification. When we identify, we glue "I am" to a role. I am the teacher, the reliable manager, the good mom, the stand-up guy, the easygoing girl. Roles can be beautiful, even sacred. But if we become the role, every wobble in the role feels like a threat to the self. Kids grow up, companies restructure, schools change curricula, or you change, and suddenly "I am" rings hollow. The path isn't smashing the role. It's moving from identification to relationship. I'm not the teacher. I'm in relationship with teaching to serve the value alive in me, helping others recognize their capacity. I'm not the manager. I'm in relationship with organizing to protect quality and kindness. When you shift from "I am" to "I relate to you," still work, love, and parent, only the weight moves from label to living value. Pain changes to less shattering, more like a clean crack that announces a new season. A story. Sophie, 39, Oregon. 15 years teaching elementary school. Her classroom is a garden alphabet neat on the wall, a warm reading nook, paper flowers the kids folded. After real healing therapy, journaling, long hikes, Sophie notices she's teaching with a voice that isn't quite hers. Picture books feel too flat. The staff room banter too thin. She doesn't hate her work. She just won't live inside the label, good teacher, anymore. She makes tiny shifts, one emotionally deeper story at read aloud. A journal prompt. Where do you feel peaceful instead of a fill in the blank? She drops one useless meeting to linger in the room after school. A month later, the laughter has changed, not louder, warmer. She's still teaching, but now she relates to the role. Her creative core walks into class and the room answers like soil meeting rain. The world didn't need burning, it needed a new meaning. To move through misalignment without burning out, try a gentle 3-beat, stop, start, sustain. Not a harsh to-do list, a soft way to talk with your life. Stop isn't a dramatic cutoff. It's pausing one small drain, a performative meeting, the style of talk that makes you shrink the reflex to grab your phone the moment you wake. Start is a safe micro-experiment. Take a new route to work one day. Handwrite a dream for 10 minutes. Invite the one friend who shares your current rhythm instead of forcing the old chat group. Sustain means keep what actually lifts you into Wednesday home-cooked meal, a sunset loop with the dog, 30 unscheduled minutes with yourself each Sunday morning. Stop a leak, start a sprout, sustain a source, and watch the outer tempo retune to the inner one, no theatrics required. But what if you stop the wrong thing and miss a big opportunity? The right opportunities don't punish truth. The ones that require you to warp yourself to keep them aren't opportunities. They're tests. A dad in North Carolina stopped answering work calls after 7 p.m. for 1 month. At first he panicked. Later he saw he'd been addicted to the good job pat on the head. What he sustained, an unhurried dinner with his 10-year-old. In those dinners, the kid talked about building a paper airplane. 2 months later, they were gluing a wooden model together. No one shared on LinkedIn. In the kitchen, someone grew. The hardest part of stop, start, sustain is enduring the in-between. Identification gives the illusion of certainty. I am this. My life is that. When you shift to relationship, there's a middle stretch. You're not fully the old thing, and the new thing is not yet formed. Many retreat here because the quiet feels like loss. But this is exactly where intuition gets space to speak. That's our next chapter. For now, just stay long enough to notice tiny signals, a line in a book that makes you close your eyes for 1 minute, a stranger's glance that softens you, the urge to lay a palm on a sun-warmed brick wall. Small as they seem, these are the underground wires linking world and soul. If you feel alone in this recalibration step out of the shell and into our circle, drop a comment with 3 simple lines. I stop. I start. I sustain. Don't flex. Pick what you can honestly do in 7 days. If it feels safe, the role I used to identify with was, the essence I'm learning to relate to is, your lines aren't performance, they're anchors. And if someone else's words ring true, reply with 1 short sentence, I'm here. A community isn't for fixing, it's for keeping tempo, like strings laying down a bed for the solo. As promised, next, we'll explore what happens when those whispers grow clearer. Intuition wakes. We'll practice symbolic living, how dreams, coincidences, and ordinary details become the language the unconscious uses to speak with you. I'll hand you 3 light doors, a bedside dream notebook, a 10-minute active imagination exercise, and a simple body radar to tell fear's voice from the selves. Not to mystify life, but so you stop missing signals that are humble and highly accurate. If part 3 made you take 1 deeper breath in a crowded place, keep that rhythm. We'll need it as we step into part 4, where the small lamp in your chest speaks in its own light, and the world strangely answers. If the last part was the rhythm of cut, try, nourish, so the outer world could realign with your inner life, this one is the moment a quiet compass in your chest begins to glow. Intuition wakes and you step into the symbolic life. It sounds mystical, but it's profoundly ordinary. It's how the unconscious speaks through images, dreams, and those perfectly timed coincidences that arrive the hour you need them most. When you stop overperforming a role and meet life as it is, small signals, a line in a book, a symbol that repeats a chance encounter, suddenly carry an uncanny depth. You stop living by noise. You start listening for meaning. Jung saw dreams and meaningful coincidences as a language. The unconscious doesn't lecture in bullet points. It sends postcards and images. You dream of a wooden bridge over a dry creek the very week you're considering a job change. In the morning on your commute, a child tells his mother, "I'm not afraid of the bridge." Neither proves anything in a cause and effect way, yet both point the same direction. It may be time to cross. That's not superstition. It's honoring the symbolic character of experience. Coincidence here isn't magic that makes life obey you. It's the moment the outer world and the inner world accidentally hum in the same key. Living symbolically doesn't distort reality. It lets reality have depth. Picture a very ordinary day in Cincinnati. You pour coffee, the cup chips at the rim. At lunch, a colleague calmly asks you to fix something that isn't yours. You're about to say yes, then your eye catches the little chip. In a flash, an image arrives, a thin boundary that needs keeping. You reply, "I'm at capacity. Let's revisit next week." The chipped cup isn't a curse, it's a sign about edges. That evening, you open a drawer and find a roll of red washi tape. You place a small strip on the cup's lip as a kitchen altar. Keeping edges keeps warmth in. A woman in Arizona noticed doors 3 times in 1 week, a dream about a small wooden door at the end of a hallway. A market scarf printed with archways. An article titled, "Open the Door You've Been Avoiding." She didn't divine her fate from that. She simply sat for 10 minutes and asked, "Which door am I avoiding?" The answer arrived without drama: request 2 flexible workdays to write. She didn't quit. She opened a door in her day. Symbolic living doesn't make you float. It teaches your feet where to land. You don't need a sixth sense to read this subtle language. You need less internal noise. Wherever you can slow by 1 notch before answering an email, breathe. While washing your hands, notice the water's temperature. Walking outside, follow the way sunlight spills across the sidewalk. These presence anchors help you hear life's small sentences, the ones usually drowned by alarms and goals. And when dreams visit, give them a chair, keep a notebook beside the bed, and on waking, jot 3 things: images, feelings, and actions. No commentary, no grades. You're building a vocabulary of the unconscious, so next time you'll understand it better. Sometimes a symbol keeps returning: a red fox on the highway, then on a book cover, then in a friend's story. Resist the impulse to Google a spirit animal profile. Ask simply, what does my inner fox need? Quack, keen master of disappearing at the right time. Maybe the lesson this week is to withdraw from an argument designed to win, not to be real. Symbols don't issue orders, they invite dialogue. Here's Jung's key for opening that dialogue: active imagination. It's a way to invite an image, a dream figure, or even a vague feeling to sit across from you and to listen. Not play acting, honest conversation. Try it tonight. Set the frame. Silence notifications, sit upright. Take a few slow breaths until your pulse softens. Name the figure or symbol that's been visiting: the gatekeeper, the girl in blue, the red fox, the dry riverbank. Close your eyes and picture it across from you like an old friend. Ask a specific question, then let your hand write the answer. What are you here to remind me? What do you need so you can quiet down? Transcribe exactly what you hear, even if it's awkward or surprising. Close gently. Thank the image. Set a next time exhale, then earth yourself. Sip water, touch wood, take a few steps. That's it. No critiquing, no over-explaining. To make it vivid, imagine a brief exchange with the gatekeeper, an elderly man with a ring of keys at his belt. Me. Which door of mine do you guard? Gatekeeper. The door of instant answers. Me. Why did you lock it for years? Gatekeeper. You like being praised for fast, tidy, brilliant. When I let you through, you stopped listening. Me. Which key do I return today? Gatekeeper. The key called, I already know. Trade it for I want to understand. Me. I'm afraid people will think I'm slow. Gatekeeper smiles. Truth doesn't run away. 15-minute meetings are fine. Your life is longer than a meeting. You open your eyes, jot a few lines, and send an email to delay a decision by 24 hours so you can recheck the data. No fireworks, but in your ribs you hear a clean echo. Active imagination doesn't make you righter than others. It makes you more honest with yourself. Sometimes the conversation surfaces unhealed things. Memory, fear. Be kind, end the session. Open your eyes, orient to the room. Name 3 objects you see and notice 3 sensations on your skin. If it touches trauma flashbacks, overwhelm, seek professional support. Active imagination is a beautiful bridge. We use it to cross, not to jump. Symbolic life also teaches gratitude for life's small hints. You take the long way home to finish a song. At the corner, you run into an old friend and have the talk you've needed for months. You're about to type a reflexive yes. The kitchen light flickers. You look up, notice you're spent, and write, "I need more time." No angel tugged your sleeve. You simply turned your antenna toward honesty. Live that way long enough and meaningful coincidences seem to bloom more often, not because life gets easy, but because you've found the right tempo. Bring this to the community so no one learns alone. In the comments, share one symbol or meaningful coincidence you've met in the last 7 days. Just a line or two so we can hear where life brushed against soul in you. If it feels safe, add one sentence from your own active imagination. Like the fox said, "Don't argue tonight, go to bed early." And when you read a comment that makes you smile, reply with one line, "I hear this image." We don't analyze each other. We witness each other, keeping small flames warm. If part 4 was the moment your inner compass lit up and you learned to hear life in images, part 5 is the quiet recognition that stillness is no longer an empty hole, it becomes a home. The old ways you proved yourself, packed calendars, noisy relationships finish, line after finish line, fall away with a gentle hand. You don't rush to fill the space. You let it breathe. Your breath stops chasing the clock. Your heart stops drumming for the crowd. You sit down like the true home owner, returning at last, opening a window, pulling up a blanket, lighting a candle, and whispering, "I'm here." In Jung's alchemical language, this is the warm red of rubedo. The seed has cracked, negredo. The mists have cleared albedo. And now life bears fruit through a steady presence. It's not a coronation. It's a weighted rhythm where you begin to embody what your mind once merely understood. Boundaries keep themselves. Journaling doesn't need discipline. Each morning the words arrive like warmth along your fingertips. You stop making mirror promises. Your voice softens on its own. "I don't know yet, but I trust." This isn't apathy, it's a different kind of strength. Soft as water with the gravity of a river. Picture a plain Saturday morning in Ohio. Sunlight slants across the sill. You carry tea. No phone. Just the dust dancing in the air. Your body sends a tiny signal, a long breath under the breastbone. Right there, the self lays a hand on your rhythm. For years, the ego answered fast-stacked meetings. Tight said yes to avoid disappointing anyone. No building will collapse because you sit in silence for 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, something turns. Instead of, "Who do I have to be today?" you ask, "What do I want to belong to today?" When you answer honestly, the red glow of rubedo spreads, delicate but durable. Stillness becomes home when you stop using it to judge yourself. You don't meditate to achieve a superior version of you. You sit to hear today's specific heartbeat. Some days it's quick, some days slow, some days quiet. Then you stand up and work, not to bargain for worth, but to pour presence into the world. Remember Mark from part 2. A month after the graduation steps, he says, "I didn't quit. I just stopped dragging the man who knows everything into meetings. I said, I need to review the numbers." And strangely, the meeting got shorter. That night, I dusted the old guitar. No performance, just 3 chords, and it felt like turning lights on in the house. In the stillness, tiny signs of integration appear. You sleep a little deeper. Mornings, you need less of that second coffee. You laugh because it's funny, not because you're polite. Confusion comes, but panic doesn't. You say no without a 5-paragraph essay. You care for the body not to fix it, but because it's the only room that can hold your whole life. Keep an integration log by the bed each night. 3 lines, 1 moment of presence, 1 boundary. You kept 1 small gratitude as small as a clean spoon in the sink. These lines don't pin metals, they dig a well. A gentle caution: sometimes what you call stillness is isolation, and what you call calm is numbness. If you're facing persistent signs, severe insomnia, loss of interest in what once fed you, clear, declines in daily functioning, or thoughts of self-harm, seek professional support immediately. A doctor, a therapist, local emergency resources. The homecoming to yourself doesn't replace mental health care. Often medical or therapeutic support is the safe bridge through high water. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's a dignified form of courage. Returning to stillness as home doesn't mean leaving the world. it lets you be more present in it. Donna from part 3 writes at night and enters her classroom in the morning with different eyes, not policing for good behavior, but shaping a room where kids can breathe. Elena from part 4 trims her calendar and notifications, then hosts small women's workshops not to lead, but to set a table, pour tea, and ask what was true this week. One candle doesn't light far, but many candles brighten a room. What one candle could you light? Try a simple dusk ritual, small and steady as the sky changes color. Light a candle, place a hand on your chest and whisper, "I don't want to win. I want to belong." Write a single short note to your morning self. Today we held one line and opened one door. Slip it into a glass jar. After 17 notes, read them. You'll see a quiet truth you have traveled far by steps no one saw. Don't walk alone. In the comments post, our sign 5 and name one house ritual you're trying this week: a silent window of time, a simple meal, an hour on a breath sentence. If it feels safe, add one small sign of integration. I said no today and still felt lovable, or I slept 5 straight hours for the first time in ages. Or reply to at least one person with "I'm here and I hear you." We're not grading peace, we're witnessing each other. Part 5 is also where you learn to measure without judgment. No secret scorecards, just a few bedtime questions. Did I betray myself today? Did I push someone against their heart? Did I stand by what's right even without applause? These aren't punishments. They're like touching a child's forehead to check for fever. Do we add a blanket or open a window? When stillness is home, ordinary miracles appear. The person who once set your nerves on fire drifts by like a cloud. The ambition that stole your sleep becomes a purpose you can hold. I don't know turns into space where a wiser intelligence can enter. You start saying, "Let me think about it. I need to listen to my body. Not today, maybe tomorrow." You're not trying to be cool. You're honest enough that old politeness no longer fits, and the world surprisingly often responds with kindness. Let me end with a simple image. You are a wooden house by a river. In winter, you light the stove. In summer, you open the windows. When rain comes, the roof chatters. After, the steps smell of wet wood. No season is more correct. You simply live each in full. This is Roberto's core, not a perfect life, but a presence strong enough to let life flow through without losing your name. What season are you in, and what tiny ritual will help you live it well this week? When we arrive at this stretch of the road together, pause for a beat, like a traveler setting down their pack on a wooden step, to hear the heart's steady knock in the evening hush. We've walked through 5 subtle signs: energy, withdrawing from the old, the ego's quiet crack, the offbeat, that's strangely meaningful, the symbolic life, and finally the home-like stillness. None of them shout yet, each turns the inner compass true. Jung would smile, this isn't a journey to make you better, it's a journey to make you truer to who you've long been. Keep a simple image: you are a wooden house by the river. Persona is the front porch where you greet the world with a courteous smile. Shadow is the cellar where you've stored precious things you were afraid to bring into the light. Individuation is the whole house agreeing to speak, windows open, hearth, warm steps dry after rain. When the house harmonizes, you don't strain to impress. Your calm presence becomes the most memorable thing in the room. Take this pocket mantra for windy days. No need to rush, just be real. Say it softly as if to the child inside you. When someone tries to push you into a nameless race, when the fear of being left behind grabs your hand, whisper it, then breathe. Place a palm on your chest and listen for your body's reply. If your shoulders drop half a notch, you've come home. Okay, I get it, but what if tomorrow sweeps me away again? That's why we use small anchors. Here's a lightweight 7-day toolkit to keep the warmth of this conversation alive in everyday life. Day 1, 3 lines: drains, nourishes, neutral. Cut 1 drain, add 1 nourishment. Day 2, record a dream: images, feelings, actions. Day 3, 1 clear, courteous, truthful number. Day 4, 10 minutes of active imagination. Ask a symbol, what are you here to remind me? Day 5, a 20-minute walk without earbuds. Let the world speak in images. Day 6, a home ritual. At dusk candle, warm water. A breath sentence: I belong. Day 7, draw a small circle mandala and place inside it 3 symbols from your week. Collect the soul's language. If a day comes when you're too tired to do it all, choose 1 tiny thing. The durability of this path lives less in grand gestures, more in the quiet nods you offer truth each day. One more note said with respect. If you're facing persistent severe insomnia, a marked drop in daily functioning, loss of interest in what once nourished you, or any urge to harm yourself, please seek local professional support, physician, therapist, or crisis resources. A Jung-inspired journey does not replace mental health care. Sometimes therapy and medicine are the sturdy bridge that carries you through high water. Asking for help isn't weakness. It's a beautiful kind of courage. Before we part tonight, let's make a circle. In the comments, share one very small thing you'll do in the next 24 hours to honor your inner rhythm. Write "I belong" plus your action. Maybe I belong. Notifications off after 8 p.m. or "should belong" to the one gentle no. If someone's line touches you, reply "I hear you." Small sentences like these, apparently slight, are the strands that keep us warm on windy days. If this video met you right where you stand, stay with us, subscribe, and tap the bell. So each week you receive a small practice card, one sentence, one breath, one simple ritual. Not to do more, to do what matters. Next time, we'll expand two audience favorites, a guided, active imagination you can use before sleep, and a Jung-style dream journal. How to distill symbols into everyday decisions, scheduling meetings, boundaries. Add your requested topics below. Archetypes like Queen, Healer, Wanderer, or Anima, Animus in relationships. We'll feature the most voted theme next week. Let me leave you with a plain image to carry: a wooden bridge over a shallow stream in early sun. No one pushes you across. You place your foot on the first plank. It creaks a little, but it holds. A small breeze touches your neck. You step. You don't need fireworks on the far shore, only the knowing that each step matches your heart. That's everything. I'm grateful you trusted me with these minutes of your life. If a line here helped you exhale more deeply, keep it like a seed in your pocket. When that sacred unease calls again tomorrow, smile at it. It isn't here to bother you. It's here to invite you back to small things you've learned: 60 seconds of presence, 3 steps of honest speech, 1 cleansing gesture, 1 embrace for the part of you that once lived from fear. That's enough. From there, life will take care of the rest. When you're ready, I'll meet you in the next video, where we'll go deeper into dreams as the soul's language and how to ask them for specific guidance on boundaries, love, and work. For now, just one breath in as if greeting a sunrise, out as if setting down a suitcase you have carried too long. You are still you, only lighter and truer. And if you want to keep the rhythm with us, tap subscribe and drop your "I belong" line with one small action. The door is open. Yes, I'm open. The rest is warm footsteps.